welcome Sammi Doll. We have Vox and keys for Sammi Doll, Vox and keys for IAMX, Vox and keys for Kat Von D, and Vox and keys for Bullet Height. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Thanks for coming by on a Friday afternoon. I know it's not vampire hours, but I feel like for longer conversations, like during the afternoon, usually feels pretty good. But
it's dark enough in here.
Is it?
It's dark enough in here for sure.
Too bright?
No.
Okay, so I'd like to start with, let me know what you have going on in 2023 and like what your plans are for music, life in general. Like what are you really excited about for this year?
Honestly, I'm really excited for Kat Von D has a new album that's coming out. It's currently in the mixing process, and I'm really, really excited to get on the road with that. It's very different from the last record. It's definitely got dark elements, but it's very pop forward. She's put her own dark spin on it, and I'm just really, really excited to get into the nitty gritty parts of programming sounds for it. I wasn't so much a part of the recording process for this album, so in a way I use that to my advantage because then I hear what's already there, so then sonically I can get creative in the live part.
Oh, cool. So did she program it, or did like her producer do all the keys, or how did that work?
Yeah, there's a really good team of people that work with her. Paul Mullen, to be one of them, was a part of the process from conceptualization to production, and then Greg, who plays in the live band, was a part of taking the songs that she had written with different people and making it really part of what it was that she wanted it to sound like. Like, she's very in tune with what she wants, and so when she hears something, it's like, yeah, that's the one, and she doesn't really stray too far away from this sound palette that she has. She knows what she wants. So I think that took them the better part of last year I think they had about 23 songs to kind of weed through, and the best ones are the ones that'll make the album.
Nice. So you get to take what they did on the record and adapt it to, kind of give it your own style for the live show is what you're saying.
Yep.
Nice. So I'm sure they use a lot of, different keyboards and programming and synths and whatnot, but for your live performance of these tracks, and same with the previous album, I mean, do you have a specific go-to gear that you like to use, or do you have a laptop on stage as well? Like, how do you like to bring these tracks to the stage?
It's different for every project that I'm in. With Kat, I have used Mainstage, just because I find that the versatility of soft synths, you can get everything that you want without having to carry around a whole bunch of equipment.
Yeah.
So I do have that on stage, or it's off stage rather, and that is with a MIDI controller. And then I have a not Nova. Why can't I think of it? I use it all the time. Oh my God, mom brain. A bass station. I use a bass station in most of my projects, but that is pretty much the foolproof go-to. If I can't find anything, which is very rare in one of the soft synths that I have, it's always just let's just go more organic. This is going to have what I need. You really feel with all of the things, all of the sounds that's capable of. You really feel it more than I feel. It really feels like the more organic bass response than a lot of the soft synths can provide.
Gotcha. Cool. So I don't know if you can talk about it, or if it's public knowledge yet, but so this new Kat Von D album, and then you said you're going to plan on taking that to the stage, hopefully. Is that for sure in 2023, or is that still up in the air?
I mean, it's always up in the air,
Yeah.
Returning to live music right now, although there's a lot of people that are definitely making headway, it's hard. Not only financially, which that's not what I'm getting at, but not only financially just for a lot of bands, but also just with slotting, because there's so many bands that have booked like many, many months before that timing is a bit hard. I know that she's very anxious and she wants to get it out immediately. So as soon as it comes off the mastering, I think it just goes straight into PR and all of that and getting on the road to get a release. So if we can, release and tour this year, it'll probably be fall.
Cool.
But I'm only saying that as speculation. I'm sure if she was here, she would tell you a lot earlier than that.
Yeah. Okay. So with the last album, which I believe was that 2021, the newest one.
Mm-hmm.
So were you part of did you record on that album, or was it the same process? So you did have tracks on that album. Okay, cool. So in 2023, are you hoping to also tour or do any shows with your other projects?
Yeah. So Kat has the priority at the moment just because I know that once that campaign goes, it's going to go. But IAMX has just announced a couple tours. And I'll go back to what I was saying, that it's really hard to be a touring mid-size musician or band at this point in time for many, many reasons. There are a lot of bands that used to be bus bands that have had to make some serious cutbacks, not only on budget, but on crew, on band members, just to make it work.
Yeah.
And that happens to be the case with IAMX. They are moving forward with this tour with just a 3-piece and very, very limited crew. They're setting everything up themselves. They're tearing everything down themselves. And it's, the nature of IAMX is, IAMX is Chris. He writes everything, he does everything. He's just like the DIY god.
Mm-hmm.
So when he needs to make it work and scale back, he can do it, no problem. And unfortunately, that meant that there wouldn't be room for me on stage for this tour.
Oh.
But that's okay. That's okay because I understand the nature of it. It's just how the world is right now, and the way that people can fix this sort of thing is go out to shows.
Is that strictly like because of budget reasons?
Yeah, it's mostly budget, and it's the same thing. It's like bands that we would tour in a bus, and now they're going in a DIY wagon sort of thing. So it's mostly space, it's budget, it's sonically. Chris is mixing everything on stage, all the monitors himself, which is wild.
Whoa.
If anybody can do it, he can. So it's just one less thing to think about. But yeah, ultimately, it's a one-man project, that band. I've been very fortunate for the last 10 years to be involved in it. And when they have space again, I'm there.
Nice.
That my allegiance and loyalty always will lay with them. They've given me really amazing 10 years of my life, and I'm just going to be cheering on the sidelines.
Yeah, I like that you still have the positive attitude about that because, like you said, you've been with them for so long, and then knowing that, they're going to have to do a tour without me, but you're still you're looking at it, in a positive light. So I like that.
It happens. Like things happen, and especially in the music industry, you have to adapt.
Yeah.
You have to be adaptable. So it's understanding that my job in IAMX was supporting Chris, making sure that he felt amazing on stage and that he had his right and left hand ladies, and we were never going to let him down. You know what I mean? And it's that has never changed. It's always going to be about him, and that's what people are going to be there for, whether or not he shows up by himself or he shows up with a 10-man band.
Yeah.
He is the project. So I love and respect that about him, and I know my place in that. So
with your solo stuff, I noticed you had a show at Bar Sinister. That was your last gig.
Mm-hmm.
And so have you always kind of had your own music, brewing and writing and recording that during your time in IAMX and during your time with Kat? It seems like you're wanting to put more stuff out with your solo stuff. So do you have plans this year to play more gigs?
Yes. Yes and no. I had said last year, I'm not going to do this again after the Bar Sin show, even though it was the most successful and the most sonically just put together. Everything finally fell into place. We have our band members set. I feel very confident with the role that I play in that band, in my own project on stage. I said it oh God, this is just kind of one of those money pits where it's you put so much time and you put so much energy into programming lights and making sure setting up all of the back end stuff and all the tracks, and it's a lot of time and energy for a one-off. So I think the thing that I have continuously run into is with my solo stuff, I've only had time to do one-offs because I've been so busy in this band or that band.
Yeah.
With my own project, it is something that I'm able to do when I have the time for it. And because I have been awarded the amount of time just by taking some time off, and also by not being involved in 2 projects now, just only one touring project, that I have kind of, I won't say an arsenal, I have a lot of unfinished songs that kind of just need to be given to somebody because I'm so bored with them. You know what I mean? It just needs to be given to, I need to work with a producer where I can be like, what else can I do with this? Because this is just not quite hitting the mark. And sometimes it takes that kind of fresh take on it where it's like, oh, just switch this here, or let's add this here.
Yeah, it's easy to get stuck sometimes with your own songwriting, especially like when, you know, writer's block is real, you know, and sometimes it just takes, like you said, an outside producer or a co-writer to just go, all you have to do is switch the verse or change the bridge to this or whatever. And then you're like, oh yeah. And sometimes it definitely makes songwriting a lot more, it just makes it a lot more easy to get through tracks when you work with others. But some people work amazing on their own and they just, you know, they write fantastic songs super fast, like, and they just have it down. So I think it's just, it's good that you're having time now to focus on your own music. And do you feel like with Kat Von D, IAMX, and Bullet Height, it seems like you said, Chris, it's his project, but in IAMX, for example, did you have creative space for writing, or is it like he would write everything and you guys would just perform it live?
Yeah, no, I'm just strictly in his live band.
Okay.
Like he is a one-man band. He's one of the most talented people I've ever met. Like, this guy can have a really, really late night of XYZ and then hit every single note a cappella the next day.
Yeah.
Like, he is just a powerhouse. And I have so much respect for him. I've learned so much from him. But his songwriting process, he's a very solitary man in that, where he just goes into a cave and then emerges a couple, months later with, oh, I think I have something.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes longer than others. And he's also been involved with the resurgence of the Sneaker Pimps album. So it's been, I want to say it's been quiet on the IAMX front as far as live touring goes up until now, but he's been extremely busy. He's never really, outside of the Sneaker Pimps, involved anybody in his writing process.
And what about with Kat on the last record that came out? Did you have creative input on that, or was it the similar kind of thing?
Yeah, no, yeah. There was a lot of room. So what happened was, when she had contacted me and asked me if I would be interested in playing with her, it was right before lockdown. And then she had all these demos that she wanted to basically turn into, they just weren't sonically there. They were kind of different genre, dancing around different things. It just wasn't cohesive.
Yeah.
So when the lockdown happened, we weren't sure what was going to happen or how long we were going to be there. or just quarantined to ourselves. So she invited me and our keyboard player, Greg, with our cats to come live in her guest house. And we just started chipping away at the demos and really creating a cohesive album for her. The songs themselves were already structured. It was just about us turning it into something that she wanted. So I had a lot of creative freedom with that.
Excellent.
There are 2 songs on that record, the intro and the interlude, that Greg and I wrote, just messing around. Basically, we had she has this big room and we had this whole setup, like all of the synths everywhere, and we would just, I hate this word jam, we would just jam some stuff out and just record it. And
Why do you hate that word?
I don't know. I think there's just something cheesy about it. It's like, yo, let's all like get in a room and jam,
Yeah.
But that was the most organic thing that came from that. And it was really cool because that was, Greg and I didn't know each other. So that was really a really great introduction piece to see how we could work together. And 2 awesome pieces of music came from it.
Yeah. I love that album. Like I recently like I had heard it when it came out, and then I recently like revisited it, and it's really good. It's really catchy, great production. So yeah, I'm excited to hear the new stuff. And I was I was following her, saw like on her Instagram she's posting like that, like you said, they're in the middle of mixing it or almost done mixing it. So yeah, excited to hear that. So going from, in your solo music, you're singing as well. So how do you compare your live experiences? Like, do you like singing more than keys, or because you sing and do keys? So like, when you switched to your solo project, how was that adjustment to just singing? You know.
That's a good question. You know what? I needed to be in IAMX to be the person that I could be in Bullet Height. And I needed to be in Bullet Height to be the person that I am as Sammi Doll, as an artist, in my own solo entity. Being behind keys was a place to hide, but still get out I wouldn't say hide, but it was just a safe place. I knew what I was doing, and it wasn't all eyes on me. It was all eyes on all of us. You know what I mean? It was me as a support to somebody else where all eyes were on him. And then as the tours progressed, he put me more up front, and he gave me more roles where I would take the microphone and do like a call and answer sort of thing, or go out into the crowd. And I needed that sort of experience to feel confident and accepted.
Gotcha.
So when I was approached by John Courtney to do the Bullet Height record, that was a really, really cool time for me, because I was only supposed to be doing backup vocals. And the label heard what we were doing and said, no, this should be a duo thing. So he featured me more up front. And where I was able to put my energy into that, it was very, very tiring because a lot of those songs are pretty hard hitters, and playing and singing at the same time, it's like when you're singing belters and then you're just trying to hit everything, and it was physically exhausting, but I loved every part of it, just because I didn't then have all of the responsibility of all eyes on me in that, solo space. There was still that protective barrier of, I'm playing songs. I'm playing my keyboard. So with Sammi Doll, I had a lot of people had told me, you need to step away from your keys. And, it's one of those things where, like, I wasn't believing that, you know what I mean? But I had so much fun doing it, just based off of the other experiences that I had sprinkled throughout my touring career. So the decision to kind of merge from Bullet Height to Sammi Doll, and be more upfront with everything, and just kind of rely on my players to do the parts that I would do. It was almost it was relieving, because then I could really, really focus on what I was saying and how I was performing it. And I really felt like it was a lot more authentic. The feedback that I've heard is that people really need a place to look,
Yeah.
So with that, it's really helped me become a more confident performer. And I think I prefer just fronting, honestly, at this point. I mean, there's still points where I go back to my keys and I do both. But I really enjoy being able to interact with my members on stage and interact with the crowd and really feel what they're giving me. And it just gives the performance that much better energy. We all feed off of each other. So I don't know, there's something special about both of those things. The fact that I can do both is awesome, but I think the way that it's evolved into just being a front person, I think I much prefer that, and I'd like to do a lot more of that.
Yeah, so when you first started with your solo stuff, only singing was a little bit uncomfortable at first, or was it because it's like you were so used to having your keys and you're singing with keys as well, but when you stripped away the keys, how was that adjustment? Was it a little like scary at first, or did you just felt it right away, or did it take a little bit of time to fall into that role? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know what? It's that classic I don't know what to do with my hands moment.
Yeah.
You're kind of like, having to compensate that energy or that feeling of awkwardness, which it's all in your head, because nobody else out there sees that. And I always have to remember that. Like, nobody else knows that you don't feel comfortable. You know what I mean? It's all about how you present it. So the transition was, I suppose, it wasn't so crazy just because of how Chris had introduced me in previous tours. To the front of the stage, and then would be very interactive with me. And then there would be parts where I would, again, go out into the crowd and I would be alone on the microphone. But then I would return to my space. You know what I mean? I think because I had that sort of gradual acceptance and it was all part of this bigger energy that people were there for, it was easier for me to then become the person that I needed to be for a solo, for my solo act. At this point now, it's all about just being interactive. It was very strange, I suppose, at first, but it was really hard to let go of that control, is what it was, honestly, because I am kind of a control freak in that sort of way. I think the part that I fought the hardest about with becoming my solo act was relinquishing that control of, okay, there's other people that can play those parts. Delegation. Mm-hmm. That was the hardest part for me.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I want to kind of transition to, now that you're a mother, how do you see yourself going into 2023, like handling the tours and stuff? Like, also, are you, from all your touring experience, how do you relate to, or how have you adapted to like the touring lifestyle? Is that something that you love, or is that something that, after being home for so long, that you're maybe not so crazy about anymore? You know what I mean? Or is the touring lifestyle something that you just absolutely love?
I'll answer that one first.
Okay.
As I had mentioned before, previously, everything about touring is you have to be adaptable. You can show up and you can show up to a city and nothing will work. Or you can show up and you're playing with the band and you hate somebody. Or you can show up and something doesn't work, so you have to figure out a way to make it work because you have 3 hours before everything goes live. So and IAMX was a really, really great place to learn all of that with, because they are so DIY and so hands-on, and so just make it work. I don't care how you do it, make it work. So with that adaptability, it comes a lot of patience, and it's a lifestyle. Honestly, like dating, for example, when you're a touring artist, it's hard because people don't understand. Like, it's
brutal.
Not,
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like you're out there like drinking and having like this crazy time. Like, you are out there working, you are adapting, you are doing your best. You're trying to find a shower. Yeah. You know what I mean? And sometimes you go weeks without a shower, and it's just things like that where you have to understand that you're in it for the greater good. This isn't about it. With touring, it's not about you; it's about everybody, and it's a very community-based lifestyle. And a lot of people aren't cool with that. A lot of people enjoy their comforts. A lot of people enjoy their routine. And although there is some kind of a routine to touring, it's different every time. Every place you go, something can be different. Somebody's going to trip. Something's not going to work. You know what I mean? So it's all about adaptability. I love that. I've been touring since 2010, and it's just something that has always piques my interest because it's something fresh every day. It's traveling somewhere new every day. It's being able to do what it is that you love and play for people that love what you do. Play for people that are the reason that you are doing what you love to do. And that is the biggest reward. It doesn't matter how many showers we don't take. There will be showers. It doesn't matter if, this or that. There will be that eventually. You know what I mean? Whatever it is you're missing, it makes up for in this or that. So bringing it back down to your other question about now that I'm a mother, how will that affect? Or what was your question?
Well, do you think that now that, do you look at it differently maybe now that you're a mother? Is like what I'm asking is, like, some people once they start to have a family, like they want to settle down a little bit more, maybe not tour as much, maybe take it a little bit easier because they have different priorities. Like, how do you feel about that for after going into this year and being a mother?
It's also a very good question. I'm very fortunate to be playing with somebody that is very family first. Kat has a little boy, and she brings him on the road. And when I told her that I was pregnant, she was like, "Oh my God, that's so great! You'll bring him, right?" And I'm like,
"Perfect."
I'm like, "Wow!" Like, it's very rare, unless you're like a huge artist where you have your own bus and this and that. Like, it's very rare for that sort of a situation to be accommodated for.
Yeah.
And her husband and just everybody that she works with is just so friendly and so accommodating, and they just want to make everybody comfortable. And I feel very, very privileged to be in that position, because in a band that might have other circumstances or other people that don't have kids or whatever, it might be a little bit harder to make that work. With, my partner is also a touring musician, and it's one of those things where we've had this discussion where it's like, okay, well, if I have a tour from August to October, how are we going to make that work? You know what I mean? And it's just things that we're thinking about down the pipeline. And as my son gets older, it's going to be much, much easier.
Yeah.
So it is something that I'm very privileged to be able to just integrate him into what we do. And, he's my partner's been on a couple tours already since he's been born. He's 5 months old now. But it is something that I'm definitely interested in introducing him to, because it is such a huge part of my life, and it's a huge part of Davy's life as well. So a lot of people, when they have kids, they, as you were saying, they were thinking about like settling down or having the structure, and it's like, to a creative, to a touring person, that is like career suicide, that thought. And for us, it was very important to remember that this is who we are, and that our son is an extension of us, and that he will be brought up in the environment that we are in. It's some people are brought up in two family households, and some people are brought up in one family household. You know what I mean? It's like everybody has a different upbringing, and he's just, the important thing is that he's going to have so many really cool experiences at such a young age. It's going to really open him up to a lot of worldly sort of views, and I love that. I was kind of fortunate to have that sort of a worldly upbringing as well, being from England and moving to the U.S. and being able to move back and forth as an adult. It's really important. I think it really helps stem some really great values at a young age. So I'm very, very happy to bring him on board with me.
Yeah. And it's so important to, being with a partner that gets it. And not only does he get it, you guys do pretty much the same thing, like touring musicians. So I think that's so important to have that kind of a relationship, especially when, you have a new son, and it's like, I think that's one of the biggest reasons why a lot of people struggle when they go out on tour and they have like a new member of the family, and it's like if the other person doesn't really get it, it can be super challenging. And I see like, so many people just can't hang with that, and things take a turn for the worse. But yeah, it's great that you guys are on the same page. So were your parents very supportive of you, like with your career, and did that have an influence on you as a kid?
I like to tell this story because it's wild. I really didn't have a chance in hell, and I say this because to do something differently. Both of my parents met playing in a band, and so my mom was a keyboard player, and she was a singer, which is wild because I didn't know her as that growing up at all. I just gravitated towards, this feels comfortable for me. My mom had stopped playing music around the time that I could remember. So that was never a huge influence in the house, but she was always very supportive of everything that I had done. I had a band in high school, and I won all these Battle of the Bands and everything. And so she was very supportive, not only just by showing up, but also, by being the ride and by helping me save up to get certain instruments or this and that. And she was always my number one fan, And my dad, who lived in England, every time we come over and we tour over there in Europe, it's awesome because he and his wife will meet us in a new place that they've never been to before, and they'll see the show. And he's probably seen me a million times, you know.
Nice.
But yeah, I have the love and support from both of them.
Yeah. So, you know how like there's certain parents that they have a kid and they hope that, you know, for example, like, you know, we're musicians. Like some people like they want their kids to be musicians, but like, are you hoping that, or do you want to see what happens? And just because like, I know if I was a parent, I would definitely I would want my child to do whatever makes them happy. But I know how like some people are like, no, I want you to be a doctor. I want you to be a dentist or whatever, like exactly what I am. But like, how do you feel about that?
I fall from the same tree that you're talking about, where just whatever makes them happy. I definitely want to equip him with the skills at an early age to at least know how to, you know, get him in piano lessons, and just so I feel like once you know that language, you can play any instrument. You know what I mean? So if he can just thumb through that as a young child, then it's already up here. It's like learning a new language. So yeah, we'll introduce him to the things that interest him. And you know, I'm never going to force him to do something he's not into, because that just creates resent. It creates a space where you don't want to do that. I'm all about just supporting whatever it is that he likes. He's going to be brought up in a very creative and artistic family and artistic space, a very supportive space. So he's already got a head start if that's where he wants, you know. As far as being a musician, like if that's what you want to do, great. It's hard. I won't sugarcoat it. It's not easy. You know, it's a lifestyle that has a lot of up and downs, you know, but just like anything, you know, it's just however you carry yourself. And, you know, if you're really, really good at what you do and you have a really great support system around you, it's just like anything.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good to hear. 'Cause like my parents also were very supportive of me and with music. And I think that can be great for, you know, for the person developing as they age. But I think there's also something to say about, because you notice like a lot of creatives that are very successful, sometimes they come from like broken childhoods, or their parents hated that they wanted to be a musician, and then they use that as fuel to like become amazing. So I think it's interesting to hear, like, because, you know, I think, well, maybe if my parents didn't support me as much with music, maybe I'd be, you know, more successful than I am now. Like, I always think about stuff like that. But I think ultimately it's great when parents are very supportive and open-minded to whatever, you know, their kids wants to do. So it's awesome to hear that. So yeah, I mean, anything else that you want to touch on or plug for 2023 that we can get into?
Oh God, I should have thought about this. I'm just very, very excited for the world to hear Kat's new release. I know she's very proud of it. She's very stoked, and she's just got such a kind heart, and she's just such a great person. Like, I want to see her win so much, and to be a part of that is just incredible for me. So this record, I think it's just got something for everybody on it, and there's some cool. I mean, I'm not going to say who, but there's like some cool cameos of some people here and there that will bring in different people from different genres. I think it's a pretty cool crossover album, so I'm very, very excited for that release, and nice. I'm even more excited to get it on the road.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I've been a fan of, like, I've been watching like Kat's career from the beginning, so it's cool to see that, you know, because I think, yeah, when we met, I don't know if you even started having, did you have a relationship with her, like a friendship with her? I don't think.
No.
Maybe that was like, yeah, right before you guys started to get together.
I think we met on the Metanoia tour.
Okay.
I think that, so it was 2015.
Okay.
I believe. And I think Kat lent her vocals to the IAMX record, which is the connection there. She did a couple songs on an IAMX record in 2018, I believe, the Alive in New Light album, which is where we met. We met on tour.
Nice. Yeah. So like I was saying, yeah, I've been following her career for a while, and it was funny because when was it, like maybe 2 weeks ago? Finally met on set with Vicente. He was shooting. They're doing like the Yerky 69 song.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, and she was super sweet. And then yeah, I was just like you said, she just has a very nice, warm, friendly vibe. So yeah, it's awesome that you guys have been working together, and I'm really excited to hear the new record and to hear all the different stuff with the keys and just with the production. It's like I nerd out on production, so like that's the first thing I analyze with any. It's kind of weird because most people will just listen to the song to like, is this a good song? Do I like it? But I'm like listening to all the technical stuff. So I noticed with her last record, it was like it was produced very well, and yeah, I'm excited to hear it. So congrats on that. And anything else you like to plug? Like where can people find you website wise and social and all that?
Yeah, my socials are just my name at Sammi Doll, SammiDoll.com. I will be releasing some of my own music. I don't want to put a date on it because I don't want to stress myself out, but I have new stuff in the pipeline. It's just a matter of putting it out there.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming by. It's been great chatting with you, and reconnecting since it's been about, what was like the last time we were here? It was maybe like 5 years ago.
Yeah,
so
it was a while.
It's cool to see you, and thanks for coming by.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.